Welcome to Daily Armor. Today we're going to be in the book of James, chapter number 1, looking at verse number 3. James chapter 1 and looking at verse number 3, and it says, "Knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience." Now I want to break this down. Again, the previous devotion was on verse number 2, and they go together, but it was so nice just to slow down. Sometimes it's nice to slow down, not look at everything all at once, but break things down slowly, look at them individually, look at the verses individually, and then when we put them together, I think it'll make more sense to us. I think it'll click to us. I think that we will just have a better understanding of what's going on in the scripture, of actually how to apply it to our own life, our own situations, our own prayer life, or our own trials and tribulations, and whatever that you're facing, whatever that I'm facing. All of that, you know, there's so many. We talked about that in the previous devotion about it's so many. It's a diverse, you know, and diverse temptations. It's a diverse amount. It's a variety of things. It's not just one thing. But verse number 3 is trying to get us to understand. Starts with the word knowing. When you know some things, when you are aware of some things, it kind of helps you. When you act out of reaction, you're not thinking. You probably have said this a time or two. Oh gosh, I wasn't thinking about that. Oh, I didn't consider that. Oh, I wasn't thinking. I just did it and I wasn't thinking. And the verse here, James is trying to get you and to get me, and this is something that I'm trying to, you know, really just hammer it into my head, is knowing. What does the word knowing mean? Allow you, just take a moment and allow yourself to process what's going on. It may look like it's, you know, this and this and this, and it's all those things that are around us, all those things that we're surrounded by, all of those things that we're into. We're just, you know, we're into this mess and that mess and this, you know, situation and that situation, and we're just bogged down and we're just absolutely overwhelmed sometimes. But knowing, when we stop, when we allow ourselves to be aware of some things, when we allow ourselves to gain some knowledge and to understand what's truly going on, when we can understand, when we can perceive, that's what knowing means. It means to allow, be aware of, have knowledge, perceive, understand. That's what the word knowing means. And when you think about that and put it in proper perspective, it's saying that there's a reason. There's something more going on here, and I know that sometimes we don't understand it, but the Lord is letting us know there's more going on here than you're aware of. Job did not understand some things, and God never answered him. He never told him what had happened. He never told him that Satan was looking at him and paying attention to him and jealous of him and saying, he wouldn't serve you if it wasn't for all that you give him. He would let you down. See, Satan himself had the best job. He was in charge of God's holiness, like he was guarding it. He was right there in the Lord's midst. He was the most beautiful angel that the Lord made. And then he let that get in his way. He started thinking that, you know, maybe he disagreed with something the Lord did. Maybe he didn't, you know, he was aggravated about something. But he started letting all of he was wise, he was beautiful, he had the best job, he was right there with the Lord, so he knew so much that was going on, and he let all that get to him and go to his head. And so then he's looking at Job, and Job's down there he's doing all the right things. He's praising the Lord. He's praying to the Lord. He's, you know, doing all those things that he needs to do. He is recognizing that God is the supreme authority, and he's not questioning it. He's not bucking it. He is not going against it. He's not saying that he deserves anything. He's not feeling like he's proud of himself. Job is just your faithful, honest, wonderful servant of the Lord. And Satan was no longer that anymore. And whenever Job was going through all that he was going through, he was able to say, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, but blessed be the name of the Lord. And he didn't know that somebody was jealous of him. He didn't know there was a challenge, and that God knew he was able. That when his faith was put to the test, and that's what that was about, he was being tested. He was being tried. He was going to, Satan himself was going to find out what was Job made of. And he didn't know this. He didn't know what was going on. His friends assumed it was something he did. His friends assumed he was guilty of something, and that God was very, very upset with him. So when we go through trials and tribulations, sometimes our first thing that we think is, Lord, what have I done? What have I done? Lord, what have I done wrong? Lord, I'm so sorry, but what did I, what am I doing wrong? And in the case of Job, it wasn't about what he was doing wrong. It was what he was doing right. And when you stop and you think about it, and it's always a good idea to go to the Lord and say, Lord, I know I'm not perfect. I know I mess up every day. And Lord, if these things are happening because of something I've done, Lord, please reveal it to me. And I'm sure that Job did that. And he just kept finding that, the Lord didn't bring something to him. The Lord didn't show him something that the reason why all this was being done to him, and losing so much, his children, his land, his health, his friends. He just lost everything. And I'm sure that he asked himself, I'm sure that he asked the Lord, show me, what did I do wrong? And when we understand that, knowing this, understanding this, that what? The trying of your faith, of my faith, the trying of it. What does that mean? That means to be tested, to be proven, to be found whether it's trustworthy or not. You think about a car. Like I've seen on the commercials where Subaru is one of those that gets a really, really, really high safety rating. They've got all these safety features that they put on a Subaru. They don't receive that safety rating because of all the equipment that they have. They receive that safety rating after it's been put to the test. It has to be proven. It has to go through the test. It has to be found trustworthy. Not just having that special bumper or that special sensor, but let's run it through some obstacles. Let's jam it into some walls. Let's put it in, some, conditions. Let's put it in some wet conditions and some sticky conditions and some curvy roads. Let's put it to the test and see how it performs. That's what's being done to us sometimes, is we're being tried. We're being tested. We've got the right equipment. We've got Jesus. We've got all that we need. He's all that I need, and I have all that I need. But what happens so many times is that we're put to the test to find out if you really have what you say you have. If what you preach and what you teach really matches up. Do you have the faith that no matter what happens in your life, that you're still going to say, blessed be the name of the Lord. The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Are we still going to say, Lord, I love you, no matter what you take away, no matter what you don't let me have? Lord, I know there's some desires out there. There's some things that we want. There's some things that I want. They're personal and they're selfish. I'll just be honest. There's some things that I want that's just selfish. And it's up to the Lord whether he lets me have these things or not. And if he allows it, I'm going to praise him. But if he doesn't allow it because he knows something that I don't know, he understands something that I don't understand, because I don't know everything, but he does, that maybe it's going to bring me harm, maybe it's going to be a hindrance instead of a blessing, Maybe it's going to cause me to take my eyes off the Lord. Maybe it's going to cause me all kinds of different scenarios that I'm not aware of. I'm not aware of any of that. Maybe he's actually sparing me some heartache. And and I don't understand that. So I have to leave everything up to him, and I have to say, Lord, if you allow it, I'm going to praise you. But if you don't allow it, I'm still going to praise you. I'm still going to love you no matter what. No matter what. So it's being found trustworthy. It's for us. He's always trustworthy. It's not to find out if God is trustworthy. It's to find out if we are trustworthy. If we are going to go to him and to get us through things, if we're going to always go to if we're going to use that sword, when you understand about some things that are going on in your life and you get your sword out, you don't retreat, you don't turn around and retreat, but you get your sword out and you put your shield up and you got your helmet on and you got your breastplate on and you got your feet are shod and you're ready. And the Lord tells you to stand and see the salvation of the Lord, to stand, to be found faithful, But you're going to be tested. It's going to look really bad. That storm is it's really large and it looks like it can't be tamed. It looks like that wave that's coming at you, that proud wave that's coming at you, looks like it's going to overtake you. It looks like you're going to drown. But God says, I am in charge of even that proudest wave. And I tell it, as how far it can go. And that's all it can do. And so no matter how bad the stuff is, that when we truly stop and we are made aware of that we have given we're given the opportunity to stop and not react, but just stop and perceive and understand there's more going on. And the enemy is trying to find out what I'm made of. And I don't have the power and the strength over the enemy, but what I'm finding out is whether I'm going to allow God for me to see his hand working in some situations, to know that he is the ultimate one that's protecting me and that's helping me and that provides for me. I don't provide for me. My husband doesn't provide for me, but God himself provides. And God himself takes care of all of my needs. And he even gives me some wants in there, but he gets to decide what they are. I don't get to decide. So sometimes when I'm wanting to be a little brat, I have to understand, I have to know that, okay, silly, sometimes God is protecting you when you just, you're being like the toddler that you keep, but I want it, and yesterday, Avery was trying to get into a toy box. It's a toy box that's actually not hers. I have a bench, I have drawers, I have all kinds of things for Kaislyn and for Avery to get into. But there's one toy box that's for Paisley. It's hers. It's behind Papa's chair. It's got a cushion and a blanket on it, and it's in a bench. It's got a lid. It's her toy box. It's her stuff. The reason I keep it separated is for two reasons. One, it lets Paisley have her special something. She's got her special place, that this is not for the babies to get in. This is her special box. And also, I have another reason, because there's stuff in Paisley's box that Avery can put in her mouth and she could get choked. There's stuff in there that would be dangerous for her. And she proceeded yesterday to try to get into that box, and she pitched herself one more little fit because I wouldn't let her get in that box. We did get a little camera. Paisley's got a cute little kid's camera, and she got out there and she'll say cheese. But she had other things in that box she wanted to get into. And I said, you've got all these other things. That's not yours. And so she pitched herself a little fit. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I get a little bit, acting like a toddler. And I'm like, but I want it. I want it. And God's saying, but no, you can't have it. And sometimes we think, we love that. We love that saying, well, sometimes he's making us wait for it. Sometimes it's not no, it's just wait. But you know what? Sometimes it really is no. Sometimes the answer really is no, because there's things that you would get choked on, that you could get hurt on, that are dangerous for you. And we don't think that. We don't see that. Avery didn't understand there was anything in there that was going to hurt her. It's toys. But she didn't understand, but I know her, she's going to put things in her mouth. And there's some things in there that are too small. There's some stuff in there that she could get choked on, and I'm protecting her. So she proceeded to fix her little fit. And then, you know, once she got over it, then she was fine, and we didn't get in that toy box. And the answer was no. Sometimes the answer is no. Are you still going to love the Lord if the answer is no? Are you still going to serve the Lord if the answer is no? Are you still going to serve? Are you still going to worship? Are you still going to praise? Are you still going to give? Are you still going to honor? Are you still going to be faithful? Are you still going to be faithful? The trying of your faith. You know what faith means? Assurance, belief, fidelity. You know what fidelity means? Loyal. Are you still going to be loyal to the Lord? Are you still going to be faithful? Are you going to still believe everything that He said? Even though the enemy's saying, don't believe that. You know, that's not really going to happen. You know, God's not really going to protect you. God's really not going to do this or that. You don't, you know, but are you going to believe God? Are you going to give in to selfish desires? Are you going to give in to the fears and the threats of the enemy? What are you going to do? This is what happens. But when you understand you're being tested about it, and if you're being tested about it, then you have to say one way or the other, I'm going to serve the Lord. But for me and my house, we will serve the Lord no matter what. If you remember when the spies were sent out, they sent out the 12 spies to spy out the land, to spy out the promised land. And 10 came back with a bad report, but 2 came back with a good report. You know why? Because they believed God. God had already told them, this is going to be yours. I've given you the victory. All they went out there to do was go see what they were going to get a hold of. And it was beautiful land, big, huge grapes, big, huge, I mean, just producing all kinds of things. But what did the 10 see? The 10 saw the walled cities, the large people, all the obstacles, that it was going to be too hard. It wasn't. That's not why they were sent out. They weren't sent out to decide whether it was going to be okay or not, whether it was going to happen or not, because you know what? God had already said that they had the victory. God had already said they had the victory. And so when they were put to the test, when they went out there and saw what they were up against, the 10 of them, of 10 tribes, they were saying, we need to stop right here. We can't go any further. We're as little tiny grasshoppers against these big, huge giants. And Joshua and Caleb were like, let's go today. Let's go. You wouldn't believe how beautiful the land is. You wouldn't believe how gorgeous everything is. We're going to be able to grow all kinds of things. We're going to be able to have all kinds of things. But God's already told us that we have the victory. You know, and Joshua says, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Are you going to be found faithful? Because your faith, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh what? Patience. We got to be patient. We got to wait on some things. We got to be, we got to endure some things. There's going to be, if you're patient, if you're truly patient, there's going to be some consistency, some constancy. What does that mean? Quality of dependability, a quality of being dependable. You are going to persevere through some things. Joshua and Caleb were so excited. They got a glimpse of what God had already said was going to be theirs. They got a glimpse of it. They were like, let's go right now. And the 10 that were against that, they wanted to stone them. They wanted to kill them. That scared them to death. And Joshua and Caleb, it wasn't in their abilities, but they were believing what God said. Are you going to believe what God says? Because that's what we got to do. We got to believe God, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. We have to endure. We have to wait. And in the middle of that waiting, we can be cheerfully, joyfully, hopefully, you know, enduring some things, but we can do it in a cheerful manner because, hey, you know what? I know this is the enemy. I ain't listening to the enemy. I'm going to go back to God's word, and I'm going to go by, and I'm going to listen to what he says. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.